Welcome back, everybody, for another deep dive. This time, we're going to be looking at AI and how it can be used to model disease progression in the brain, specifically Alzheimer's disease.
Okay.
It's a tough disease to predict, right? Because everybody's brain is different.
Absolutely. And, and also the way that it affects different parts of the brain can vary so much from person to person.
Yeah. So how do you model that? Like, what can we use to try to get a glimpse into what the future of our brain health will look like?
Well, there's this new AI model called BrLP, which stands for Brain Latent Progression.
Okay.
And this is what we're going to be talking about today. And it's actually pretty remarkable what it can do.
Yeah, I was reading a bit about this before, and it can actually predict future brain scans. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And even personalize those predictions for individual patients.
So what it does is it takes a single brain MRI scan and combines that with information like the patient's age and sex and cognitive status.
Right.
And using that information, it can predict what their brain scans will look like at a specific point in the future. Pretty amazing.
Wow. So it doesn't stop there, though, right? Because I was reading that it also looks at specific brain regions and the changes in their volumes, particularly the ones that are really closely tied to Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah, absolutely. So it looks at areas like the hippocampus and the cerebral cortex, the amygdala, cerebral white matter, and the lateral ventricles. And these are kind of like the key areas that tend to be most affected by Alzheimer's disease.
So it's almost like BrLP is choosing to hone in on the areas that really matter when it comes to tracking the disease.
Precisely.
But hasn't this kind of thing been attempted before? Haven't people tried to model this disease before?
Oh, for sure. Scientists have been working on this for a long time. Yeah. But what's different about BrLP is it uses a really sophisticated AI technique called latent diffusion models, or LDMs.
LDM.
Yeah, LDMs. And it's kind of like, you know how an artist can take a really blurry sketch and turn it into a photorealistic portrait?
Yeah.
It's like that, but for brain scans. So it helps BrLP to see the finer details and make more accurate predictions.
So it's not just looking at a static image. It's actually kind of analyzing the intricacies within it.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that sets this model apart from previous attempts?
Yeah, for sure. So BrLP actually integrates prior knowledge about how Alzheimer's disease progresses.
Okay.
So it's not starting from scratch every time it makes a prediction. It's actually using all of this existing knowledge and building on that.
So it's learning from all of the previous research and observations.
Right.
Okay, I see. And I also remember reading something about BrLP working directly with 3D scans.
Yes.
Why is that important?
Well, you see, some of the older methods, they relied on just analyzing 2D slices of the brain.
Okay.
And when you do that, you might miss crucial details that you can only see when you look at the full 3D structure. Right? So BrLP works with the entire 3D scan right from the start.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like the difference between looking at a single photograph of a sculpture versus being able to walk around it and seeing it from all angles.
Exactly.
You get a much better understanding of the whole thing.
And on top of that, they use a special algorithm called latent average stabilization, or LAS, to make sure that the predictions that the model is making change smoothly over time.
Okay.
So it's kind of like that smoothing tool you use in a photo editing program.
I see.
And it ensures that those predicted brain scans over time look seamless and consistent.
Got it. So it's mimicking the way Alzheimer's actually unfolds.
Exactly.
In a natural progression.
Yeah.
But how do we know this is actually accurate? Did they put it to the test?
Oh, yeah. They tested it on a huge data set of brain MRIs, over 11,730.
Wow.
Which is a lot of data.
That's a lot.
For the AI to learn from.
And did that include scans from people at different stages of Alzheimer's?
Yes, it did. They included scans from people who were cognitively normal people with mild cognitive impairment and people with Alzheimer's disease. So they were really trying to get a good representation across the whole spectrum of the disease.
So what were the results?
Well, the results were really impressive.
Okay.
BrLP actually outperformed all existing methods for predicting these future brain scans.
Wow.
Which suggests that it has huge potential to change how we approach this disease.
So what could that mean for treatments and stuff?
Well, imagine if we could start clinical trials earlier.
Yeah.
Because we could predict who's going to progress faster.
Right.
That could lead to faster development of treatments.
That would be amazing.
And getting them to patients quicker.
That would be a game changer.
Exactly.
But I imagine there are probably some limitations to this research too, right?
You're right. No model is perfect.
Yeah.
And the researchers acknowledge that there are some limitations.
Like what?
Well, for example, they found that it was slightly less accurate when predicting brain scans for people who already had Alzheimer's disease.
So kind of a reminder that we still have a lot to learn about Alzheimer's, and that even the best AI can't capture every single detail.
Absolutely. It's such a complex disease.
Yeah.
But even with that limitation, the potential benefits are still huge.
Right.
Especially when you think about clinical trials.
So how would that work?
Well, if we can identify people who are going to progress really rapidly, then we can select the best patients for critical trials.
Oh, I see.
The ones who would benefit most from early intervention, and then we can get results much quicker.
So it's all about getting the right people into those trials.
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm starting to get really excited about this. It's almost like BrLP is a personalized roadmap for brain health.
That's a great way to put it.
And it's not just about predicting the future. It's about empowering doctors to make better decisions.
Absolutely. And imagine if we could create digital twins of patients using this technology.
Digital twins.
Yeah, so these would be virtual models of the patient's brains that doctors could use to simulate different treatments and see what would happen before actually giving them to the patient.
So it would be like a virtual laboratory.
Exactly.
Wow. That sounds incredible.
Right.
Like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, doesn't it? But that's what's so cool about this research.
Yeah, it really is amazing to see, like, how this is all unfolding.
I know, right?
It feels like we're on the edge of, like, a whole new era in healthcare.
Yeah, it really does feel like that, doesn't it? Like, we're really pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible.
Yeah, and while BrLP is showing so much promise for Alzheimer's, it's important to remember that this is just one example of, like, how AI is changing healthcare.
Absolutely. There's so much research happening right now looking at how AI can be used for so many things, like developing new diagnostic tools, personalizing treatments, and even predicting outbreaks of infectious diseases.
It's crazy to think about all the potential.
I know. It's a very exciting time to be in this field.
It really is. And for anyone who's been affected by a brain disease, like, these advancements must give them so much hope.
For sure. It's hope that's actually grounded in real science and driven by some really incredible researchers.
Yeah. And speaking of hope, this brings us to a question that I think is probably on everyone's mind right now.
Okay.
If BrLP can already predict these future brain scans so accurately, could it one day be used to actually personalize treatments for neurodegenerative diseases?
That's the big question, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Like, can we actually tailor therapies to each person's unique brain?
And I think that's what everybody wants to know.
Yeah, and while we don't have all the answers yet, this research definitely opens up a whole world of possibilities.
Right, but before BrLP becomes like a routine thing in healthcare, are there still some hurdles to overcome?
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, we need more research to make sure these findings hold true for larger groups of people.
Yeah.
The study we're talking about today focused specifically on Alzheimer's disease.
Right.
So we need to figure out how well this model works for other neurodegenerative conditions, too.
So it's about making sure that it's reliable for a bunch of different brain diseases, not just Alzheimer's.
And not just for specific groups of people.
Yeah, we need to see how it works in different contexts and with diverse patients.
And like with any powerful AI, we need to think about how to implement it responsibly and equitably.
That's such an important point.
Yeah, AI has the potential to do so much good,
right,
but we have to be careful and make sure it's used ethically and doesn't create or worsen existing health disparities.
So we need to approach AI development with balance, considering both the benefits and the risks.
Exactly. But I do believe that with careful planning and consideration, BrLP has the potential to really transform healthcare.
It feels like we're on the edge of something truly revolutionary.
I agree.
A new era of healthcare where AI can help us understand and treat these brain diseases in ways we never thought possible.
And it's not just about BrLP, you know? Right. There's so much other incredible research happening right now using AI to make huge advancements in healthcare.
And for our listeners who want to dive deeper into all of this, where should they go to learn more?
Well, the research paper we've been talking about is a great place to start.
Okay.
It has all the details about how BrLP works and the results of their experiments.
Got it.
And you can find a link to that in the show notes.
Perfect.
And there are tons of other resources online, too, like websites from the National Institutes of Health and the Alzheimer's Association.
These are great resources.
Yeah, and if you're interested in AI and healthcare more broadly, there are a lot of good podcasts and online courses out there.
We'll be sure to put some links to those in the show notes as well.
Perfect, because the more informed we are about these advancements, the better we can advocate for ourselves and our loved ones.
I think we've covered a lot today.
We have.
And I'm honestly left feeling a sense of awe.
Me too.
Just thinking about all the complexity of the human brain.
It really is the most intricate and mysterious organ in our body.
Yeah, and even after decades of research, it feels like we're just starting to understand it.
But with tools like BrLP emerging, I really think we're on the brink of some truly groundbreaking discoveries
that could change how we think about neurodegenerative diseases and lead to new treatments and cures.
Exactly.
It's a pretty amazing time to be alive.
It is.
And to see all of this happening.
So to our listeners, we want to leave it with this final thought.
If AI can already predict the future of brain scans, like what other aspects of human health could it eventually illuminate?
It really is mind-blowing.
It is.
When you think about it.
It feels like science fiction is becoming reality.
Yeah, it really does.
And what's really fascinating to me is that it's not just about the technology itself, right?
Right.
It's about the collaboration between all these brilliant minds.
Absolutely.
Like you've got neuroscientists, computer scientists, clinicians.
All working together.
Yeah, all coming together to solve these incredibly complex puzzles.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
And that kind of collaboration, that's what's going to drive real innovation.
For sure.
And make sure that this technology is used to benefit everybody.
Absolutely.
It speaks to like our human curiosity and this desire to always learn and improve.
It really does.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into BrLP,
yeah,
I'm left with a sense of wonder.
Me too.
About the brain.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating organ.
It really is.
Probably the most complex and mysterious one in our body.
And even after all this time studying it,
yeah,
it feels like we've only just begun to understand it.
But with these new tools like BrLP emerging, I really think we're on the cusp of some amazing discoveries.
Yeah, discoveries that could completely change how we think about these neurodegenerative diseases.
Right.
And hopefully lead to new treatments and cures.
And give people hope.
Exactly. Hope for a better future.
It's a really exciting time to be alive, don't you think?
I agree.
To see all of this happening.
So to all of our listeners out there,
yeah,
stay curious, keep exploring, and never stop asking questions.
That's right.
The future of healthcare is full of potential.
Absolutely.
And we're just at the beginning of this journey.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you everyone for joining us for this deep dive into the world of AI and brain health.
We'll see you next time.
Until next time, keep those brains buzzing.